Boom, it looks like we're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's January 21st, 2023. I usually do a little intro video, so that's why nobody's probably watching yet. But let's give it a second here. And we got actually we have an interesting show, I'm hoping, tonight. That's right. I'm going to bitch a little bit because I'm a little butthurt. And I'm going to show you a little AI stuff that I did. And then we have a guest. We have James Brewer from Cannabis. And anyways, that's what we're going to have a good show tonight, I hope. And let's see, there's only 3 people watching right now. I should wait a second. Well, here, I'll do it while no one's watching. My little piss rant. I got to have a little piss rant. The big poker tournament was today. The big poker tournament was today at the casino, and I exited exactly at the second hand of this tournament. I walked out of there less than 5 minutes after it started with my head hung low. Exactly. Not even 5 minutes in a good sized tournament. Bam. Anyways, that's my little gripe. Before I bring up James, I talked a little bit about, and I think it's kind of cool, AI art that I've been playing around with. So like I just put a prompt. We have a little lighthouse in Crescent City called Battery Point Lighthouse. And what you do is you just type that in, and then it gives you a bunch of versions. It'll give you 4 versions of that. I don't know, in like 30 seconds. That's a unique piece of art. A little acrylic painting of a redwood forest. I prompted DMT experience, and that's what it gave me. Kind of cool. I think it is. Wow, we got 12 people. Oh, one of my favorite of all times, who's kind of, you know who that is? I just typed in. It kind of looks like him pretty much. That's Jeff Beck. Rest in peace. I had Van Gogh paint me in acrylic, and I'll be darned, it kind of looks like me, but it's kind of cool. I like old guitars. I just see this is how it looks if you do it. So I prompted Les Paul guitar, Cherry Burst old, and it gave me 4 different versions. And then you can pick them up. And then I did a watercolor of the forest. And what's interesting is they actually put in a name of the artist, and I think it's just a randomly generated name. Anyways, that's AR. I tell you, it's so fun to play around with. You ought to if you haven't. But anyways, that's about it. Good to see you. I see a few people in here. Anyways, without further ado, let's bring up James Brewer, and let's have a good conversation. Oh, thank you for tuning in, all the people in there.
What's up, Pat?
How you doing, James?
I'm doing good.
So from your Facebook posts, you're kind of busy. You get around a bit.
Man, I mean, we have 5 kids. We're always busy.
No,
Never
but but we're talking, you do some traveling too, not just in this country. You're going all around the place. Are you going to? Did you do that South America trip?
No, I was not a part of that. Actually, Wendy and I last year went to Spanibus. We were lucky enough to be invited by Julie Chiarello, the editor of Skunk Magazine. And we spoke on a panel on regenerative agriculture, and Wendy spoke on the Women in Cannabis panel. And through that, she was connected to a woman who runs, I'm not going to be able to remember the name of the nonprofit, but she runs a nonprofit down there. And she invited all these women from all around the world and paid for them to come down. So paid for their flights, paid for their hotel, didn't tell them why they were coming. It was basically like, look, you show up and see what it's about or don't. And so we felt like it was probably a good opportunity. And so I stayed here and babysat the kids, and it was kind of a woman only thing. And Wendy went down there, and it was really, I guess, an amazing experience for her. And I think some really good things are going to come out of it for women and cannabis overall internationally. So it's kind of cool. So no, I didn't get to go, and I'm pissed about it.
No, get over it. Doesn't sound like you are. Sounds like you're taking one for the team. But no, that sounds like, that's some of the exciting stuff about the industry, how it's blossoming worldwide, and you kind of get a front row seat to that. So kudos. I guess I could say a little peanut butter and jelly, you might say.
Yeah, well, being somebody who is, I've been growing plants for, over 25 years, mostly vegetables. But being from like having just a small home grow and, starting a group that was all about cannabis and connecting growers together, to eventually moving to California and, being kind of thrust into commercial cannabis, which is not what I was coming out here to do initially. It's been extremely interesting. The people I've met and the stories I've heard, and it's also kind of heartbreaking to meet and hear some of the stories that have gone on. And at the same time, seems to be a glimmer of hope in the industry out here and in the communities. It's, even though it still kind of feels like you're walking around after a bomb went off, there's green grass growing, so yeah. And then getting to meet like cool people like David Crosby and stuff. So
No, I saw that. I saw that picture. That was pretty cool. I have in a tangential way, I have a relationship to David Crosby. I think in the 70s, he had a girlfriend I think it was pretty traumatic, who died in a car crash.
okay.
And my half
Yeah,
brother,
he did actually, because he talked about, now that you mention it, he talked about a woman who died when he was younger, who was like the love of his life, and he always loved her, and his wife actually mentioned her at one point. So definitely a key person in his life for sure.
it was, and that woman was my half brother's half sister. So,
Oh wow,
very
small world.
tangential, but yeah, small world.
Yeah.
He was,
Yeah, I get to say that I ate an orange off of David Crosby's stomach. Didn't quite happen the way it sounds, but it's fun to say. He was a super cool dude. I'm super blessed and honored to have been able to call him a friend for the last year.
No, growing up in the 60s and 70s, yes, it's true. Listened to a lot from my family, was all a lot into music. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was definitely a staple on the turntable. And I did see Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young in the 2000s. They did a tour. And it was excellent. It was first,
I'm jealous.
It was great. Yeah, yeah.
I'm jealous. I always say I was born in the wrong generation.
Well,
because everything I listen to is like Zeppelin and the Beatles and Pink Floyd and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anyhow, is there what anything else you want to bring up, or any stories to tell, or what's on your mind?
Oh, I don't know, Pat. You brought me on.
Okay, well,
I don't have any stories. You're asking me stories, I'm gonna start telling all kinds of stories that have nothing to do with what you probably brought me on for.
Well, for whatever reason, there's a lot of my viewers on the show, and customers, turns out, are in Oklahoma, and the Cowboy Cup happened, and there was a bit of kerfuffle, and I just wanted an opportunity for people to ask questions or tell their side of the story. It's not about any kind of, I'm not about drama and attacks, and that's not going to work very well here tonight. But actually, I think James is well aware, and he's been probably advised not to talk a whole lot about it. And to his credit, in I guess our reputation, he's willing to come on and answer questions. He said he'll answer any questions, but it's not about. Go ahead.
Clarify too. And by advise, I would say friendly advice. I'm not affiliated with Ganjier or Cowboy Cup or any of that. I was just there and happened to have kind of like an inside ear and eye into everything that happened. Obviously, I'm getting married to Wendy, and she kind of got thrust into the middle of all this as well. So just to clear it up right off the bat, like I'm not affiliated with anybody, and no one advised me in a professional capacity just before anyone starts running away with anything.
Okay, well, great. So having said that, Vets grows down in the he's I don't think he was at the Cannabis Cup, but I think he knows some of the players involved with there. So let's go ahead and bring up. This is Kess from Betts Grow in Oklahoma. Welcome, Kess. You're muted.
Oh, I think I've talked to him before.
Oh, you actually
Hey,
probably have.
how's it going, guys?
How's it going,
Good.
buddy?
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? I see there's a lot of people down in chat tuning in tonight. I've got a little bit of breaky service here, so sorry about any interruptions.
No worries. How's the weather out there in the Midwest? Been beautiful and warm and sunny here.
It's still pretty dry. We still haven't gotten any rain. The drought continues. Um, yeah, it's just the typical southern Oklahoma. I mean, it's kind of weird. Southern Oklahoma is almost desert, and the northern part's pretty green and hilly.
Okay. So what do you think, Cass? You've actually you've done a fair amount of like journalists on this thing, haven't you? You've done some digging. What do you have to say, Cass? Any questions?
Hold on, give me 1 second.
I'm all about the Eddies.
I know you always time out the show with when they're kicking in. It cracks me up.
Yeah. You actually
You're like, the edibles are really starting to kick in, guys. I gotta go.
That's my excuse. That's my bladder that's really too full. Wait till you get old, you'll see. Anyways, so you said Spainibus. I thought there was something in South America.
Yeah, that's where Wendy went in South America, was in Brazil. So she went to Sao Paulo.
Okay, and that was Spainibus?
No, Spanibus was in Barcelona.
Yeah,
it's usually, I think it's in March, usually every year.
Did you happen to make it to the Emerald Cup this year?
I did. This year was the relaunch of the brand for years now. Kind of, Wendy was for a long time a legacy grower, and then 215 happened, and so they were supplying patients during the 215 days. And then when Prop 64 happened, she was one of the people that wanted to go legal and continue to grow. So she did that and spent all that money doing that. And then they told her she couldn't use water. So she had to get a rain catchment pond designed and built. And it took 4 years for the cannabis building and planning department to put the permit through. So what was your question? Why was I? I
don't know.
Fuck, dude, I don't remember why I was going off on that tangent.
It's all right, Jane.
Oh, well. Right. Yeah, I think you asked me something about Spanibus. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, because you said Spanibus, and then I was thinking it was South America was the other one.
Yeah, no, Spanibus, Spain. Oh, relaunch. That's right. You asked me about Emerald Cup. Anyway, so she's been selling bulk for a long time. And this year was us launching the brand and packaged product. And so we have product co-branded with Mercy Wellness. And they were at Emerald Cup, and they have a sun-grown line. So it's different farms from the Emerald Triangle. I think they have 5 or 6 farms right now, and it's all sun-grown cannabis. And so they were there, and we went there to kind of check it out. And the vibe this year was way different than last year. It was really, really different. There was a lot more selling at booths. There was more retail areas. I know the small farmer initiative was still like one retail that you have to go to. But there were a lot more booths where they were just selling cannabis there. The jars were out so you could look at it and smell it. It just had a different feeling. I don't know that it was busier than last year, but it definitely felt different.
Okay, what if you have your ear? I don't have my ear to the ground too much. What do you think this year is going to be like in California as far as industry and growers? I think there's last year sucked for my end.
Yeah. I mean, things are still adjusting and shaking out, finding the equilibrium. I think it seems to me that it is maturing to a point where people are starting to look more for craft cannabis. And shops are starting to realize that they have to actually go and look and support the small farms that are providing that. So there is some glimmer of hope in that. And the state the other day, the DCC, they just held like an open forum where people could call and comment. And so there's a lot of talk about restructuring fees and moving licenses around. And right now things are kind of set up for just the big guys. And the fact that they're kind of listening, I don't know, dude. You know, it's all fucked up, and you know, big corporations have their claws in it. They're not going anywhere. But I think California is getting to a point where, you know, there is some opportunity for those farms that are out there.
No, man, I'm hoping there's some opportunity still for the little guy. I am. It's gonna be a make or break.
It comes down to the buyers, Pat. Like the buyers and the you know the dispensaries, really. You know, if they're not educating consumers on what good cannabis is, and they're just putting out trash over and over again, then eventually those people do go, you know, to the traditional market, or they move to another retail, or they never find out what good cannabis is. You know, like I don't know. It's kind of a shit show. We'll see. You know, we're trying to find our own place in it and struggle our way through. And you know, for us, the focus has really been on diversifying as much as possible and not just having all of our eggs in one basket. So it's not just growing cannabis, it's growing food and doing a CSA and that more traditional kind of farming stuff.
Okay. Betts, what's up, sir?
Yeah, I was just trying to get a signal. I got like one bar, and if I move my hand this way, it'll start to break up. If I do, yeah, so I gotta figure out this little sweet spot here. But we're doing good. How's it going, James?
It's going really good. We can hear you and see you pretty good too. So you must have found the sweet spot.
You're a little fuzzy, but we can hear you just fine. I think.
All right.
I think sometimes if it is a bandwidth problem, if you go to your symbol, it's better. You know what I mean? The video takes up a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we do time out here.
Here where we're at, we're right along the foothills of these mountains. Or they're not even mountains, they're just really big hills. And the signal for line of sight, we're just down in a valley, so it's just a really bad signal.
I gotcha.
Yep, I was telling Pat right beforehand. He goes, "Oh, your internet seems a little bit better today." I'm like, "Well, I have my phone in the exact right spot, but the Wi-Fi, the satellite internet, I have to jack up another 20 feet at least on a pole. It's already on my fucking roof. I got to put on like a 20-foot pole to try to get it up over the trees because we're literally the mountains right next to us, and there's trees all over the place. So, yeah,
I got the same thing. I got a signal booster here on the wall, and it's connected to the antenna on the roof, but it's sitting up about 10 feet. I need to go about maybe another 30 feet, but then it becomes a lightning rod at that point.
Yep.
No, I like the way that camera you're highly focused in your background. My camera that's focused on my back wall, so I don't know. Anyways, I think I see Bud's down in let's bring up Bud's and see what he has to say. I think I gave Bud's a cut of Blue Dream, and I think that might be it. Cup, you're muted, Buds.
That's the Blue Dream clone.
That's a nice plant.
Yep.
I have a really good plant, James, and a really
5
good.
5 weeks in, 5 weeks.
A very good good Blue Dream cut. Like it's a great plant in every dimension, and it actually goes. Sometimes they say you can't keep cloning. Keep cloning a plant, it gets weaker and weaker. That plant's been cloned for over 20 years, and it's still a monster. But anyway. Yeah. So Kess, what's going? Yeah, it might work better. You got any what do you got any input for James or any questions?
So when you first start, when you guys were first sitting there talking, it was doing the robot thing, and I was hearing bits and pieces. But yeah, I'm not out to attack nobody or nothing like that. Everybody. So should we just give a rundown, a real quick of the
Sure.
Cowboy Cup and what's happened or whatnot?
Sure.
Okay, so mostly everybody knows that during the event, the outdoor, all the outdoor and part of the light assisted got disqualified for bud rot. And there's controversy over that. There's controversy over how it was presented. And I'm not a conspiracy person, so I don't really look at it like, oh, you did it for this reason and that's happening for this reason. It's really not for, really, I don't know. So it's not really for me to be like, oh, you're whatever, or you're right, or you're wrong. But what happened in Oklahoma at the Cup extended a lot of places and affected a lot of people negatively, and with their business, their relationships with partners, and there's still more that's going on. I don't know, as far as you, James, I don't know what you can speak on and what you can't speak on. I did invite Daniel from the Cowboy Cup, and Patrick, Soul King Patrick, and a few others. But I kind of figured that it was going to still be kind of tight lid on a few things for the moment. But there's been some interviews, like Adam Dunn show and some other places, about what had happened and with some people, and it just really kind of, for me personally, when more things keep getting mucked up as they're trying to clean them up, it doesn't look right. But anyways, there's a lot of things that are happening with the growers that were entered into the event, not just entered into the event, but because of what was said and done, it started to put like a really bad mark on the Oklahoma industry. And that's not what you want to happen when the world's kind of looking in from the outside, right? And there's, from different parties, they all agree that things went wrong, or were done the wrong way, whether it was announced the wrong way, handled the wrong way, but nobody has really accepted any blame. And everybody wants to play the blame game, but without knowing who's responsible for what. Me personally, I'm a home grower. I teach people to grow their own. I push for people to grow their own, pretty much because we talk about this kind of thing a lot. It's not far from federal legalization. When that happens, there's going to be Walmart weed all over the place. It's going to turn into a way different market than like the craft cannabis that we have, or the entrepreneurship kind of small batch growers. And Oklahoma has a lot of those right now, and they'll probably still have them as long as they don't get pushed out by the big corporate and all this and that. But things are going in a certain direction, and a lot of people feel and see what happened at the Cowboy Cup kind of as well. Some things happened that shouldn't have happened, and people like Daniel and others have agreed that was that away. But like I said, it's kind of tongue in cheek while they're saying, yeah, it shouldn't have been done that way, but it wasn't me. Kind of looks like fuckery, and nobody's really they've been doing a couple of these shows. And it's like, okay, they're getting ready to do it, and then it makes a hard left. If you kind of look at some of these other shows, they kind of have ties into this, so they don't want them that's kind of conspiracy kind of shit. But if I'm part of a bigger community, and if something's bad with them, it's going to hurt me. Well, I probably wouldn't want to be asking those questions neither. But I kind of don't. I'm a real guy, not like Daniel said. Oh, I don't have a dog in this fight. Bullshit. I don't have a dog in this fight.
That's silly.
Right, Daniel. So here's a few things too, and it's not been addressed. It's not been really local people know, but Daniel is a ganjier. He went to the class.
Yep.
He participated.
Yep.
He's a ganjier. So when
Yep.
he says, "No, there wasn't a ganjier when the product came in," I don't want to say it's a lie, but it's not the truth. And as
Right.
a ganjier,
he's a ganjier,
as
but
a ganjier, when that product comes in, you're part of the initial QA of what comes in, and you let it go through. And I don't have a dog in its fight. Bullshit. So there's these kind of things that continue to happen that need answers to. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I actually paid into the Ganjier program and was going to come out and do all of that. And then I had bought a house, came early, and I wasn't able to complete it. So I don't want to say
doing the online modules.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Before we get too far, because I kind of want to address, if it's okay, if we can
absolutely go for it.
Address some of the stuff you brought up. I think maybe. So I haven't watched any of the interviews that have been done, partly because I know I've had a personal interaction with one of the people who were doing the interviews, and he invited me to come on his Instagram, and I said, of course. And he never followed through on that. And I also said I would come on the Future Cannabis Project with him, and he, of course, never followed through on that. So I don't know what's actually been said by other people in interviews out there. So I can't, it's hard for me to address what's been said without actually knowing, right? You think you said something about people agreeing to do something and then things veering left. I think I might know what you're talking about with that. But I guess maybe the easiest thing to do would be to just address what I know happened since I was there. And obviously there's going to be people that don't believe me. You guys don't fucking know me, and that's fine. But Patrick asked me to come on because we have had interactions before, and I think I'm not speaking out of turn that he believes I'm a faithful and honest person. So I'm not going to represent things in any light that I don't believe them to be. I think Daniel saying he doesn't have a stake in it, if that's what he actually said, that's kind of ridiculous. It's his competition, so he obviously has a stake in how things look and how things are portrayed. So him being a ganjier, yeah, he's a ganjier. I don't know. I know from what I know, because I've been privy to information, is that when the samples came in, they went right to the place where they're packaged. And I guess it's like the cleanest. Let me just roll through, because I'm sure everyone has a counterpoint to everything. I'm just telling you what I know. And
right, and he also owns the lettuce bar, which is what you're talking about.
He owns the lettuce bar. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Anyway, so I guess it went there and it got packaged, and then whatever. Couple things. Wendy wasn't a judge. Patrick wasn't a judge. Wendy and I came there because Wendy was speaking on a panel. She spoke with Dr. Pepper and a couple other women in a tent. There was like a learning tent, where they had several things and people did presentations there. Mr. Rust did a presentation there. So that's kind of why we were there. You brought up the fact that, like, I guess Cowboy Cup has addressed the fact that they handled announcing things badly and all that. Like, fuck yeah. Like, wasn't great to do that. Should have been handled differently. Um, I don't know if how aware, like the ganja, what's really sucks, I guess, for me and for everybody else is
Well,
that there are
real
growers
quick, that
that,
the announcing, who did the announcing? The reason I'm asking this is because first day, this is the fourth year running, and every year this problem has existed.
well,
And
last
in his,
year,
in the
everybody's
interview, he
samples,
said
uh-huh.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Last year,
Go ahead.
everybody's samples got DQ'd when they went to testing. And so this year, Cowboy Cup said, well, we're not gonna send, like, because I think last year everyone had COA and then they sent it to secondary testing and everything failed. And that's, I would, so here, my thing is, and what I was going to say beforehand, and I'm going to address what you said too, and don't let me forget it. This sucks for everybody because obviously there's a problem. And in my first social media post that I posted addressing this, because I was actually the first person who posted photos of the actual cannabis online. So the photos that are on my social media are of actual samples because my friend, who happens to be a ganjier, one of the judges, who is asked to come out there and judge. This is a group of people who are like extremely passionate about cannabis. They, like you, spent money to go through the program and then came out there. And I don't care what anybody says. I know that shit's not pay to play. People come out here and fail all the time. There's a woman who came out here from New York. She's a total badass older lady. She's got like the Brooklyn accent and she thought she was going to kill it. She's older and the olfactory senses aren't what they need to be. It is top level connoisseur shit. I've been trying to develop my palate to taste and smell cannabis the way these people do. So, to disparage any of the judges, first of all, it sucks for them because all they did was assess what was in front of them. Now, how the cannabis got moldy, that's a whole different thing. And I in my first social media post, actually brought up what I thought was the likely culprit. And I think it has been it's been brought up now by the PR posts by the Ganjier and the Cowboy Cup, because I'm the one who found this and brought it to other people's attention that this could be an issue. You asked me about the announcement, right? What was your question about the announcement? Who announced it?
Yeah, real
Okay.
quick, Daniel, the previous year
Oh, that's
contacted
right.
all the
That's right. The
growers
previous year.
for the event, and this year,
Right.
actually,
So
he's
last
done that
year,
every year, but this year was in the middle of the event, stopped
right.
kind of everything.
So last year, everyone sample went to secondary testing, I guess, and then everyone failed. And this year, they were like, well, we're going to try to circumvent any of that happening because we trust, at least this is what I believe to, because I don't know Daniel. I've never talked to Daniel. I don't know him. So just to clear up any air, whatever, like I know some of this information because I know some of the other people. That's it. And I was there for some of these conversations at the Cowboy Cup. Ganjier, I know, was eager to get this information to the farmers as soon as they found out about it, and they thought that it was being taken care of. Now, whatever reason it didn't get taken care of, like that it's said and done, so it can't be fixed at this point. For you brought up as in this year, I guess, so everyone had their own COA. They brought their own COA and their own samples, which is very trusting of a competition, by the way, for to trust growers to give a sample and the test. So I would say that's pretty cool of them to do that. I think if they were thinking properly and moving forward, what they should have done is reached out to all the growers as soon as they found the contaminated samples and said, we don't know what the fuck's going on, guys, but go home and get us a sample. And after all this happened, Wendy and I did a lot of talking about what competitions should do moving forward and how they should handle these things. The grower should be in charge of packaging everything. And then that packaging gets sent on. They also need to hold some of that packaging. So that way, if down the line there is something wrong with the samples, they get to go back to where they've held their package in storage and bring it in and go, okay, here's my sample. It was packaged at the same time. Why is mine different? And then you can start tracking down, like, okay, where'd this happen at? Was it storage? Was it in the travel? Like, how did this fucking happen? It's my belief that, and by the way, I've been to Oklahoma a few times. My buddy Zach in Oklahoma, he makes killer fucking hash. I think that, there's definitely this guy Jace, who I have weed sitting on my desk right now. He grows KNF. It's fucking bomb. So I know there's good growers out there, and the weed that was turned in, I guarantee those growers weren't putting it in the package moldy. There's no fucking grower worth their salt that's putting moldy weed in a package. Unfortunately, when you look into Oklahoma regulations, you guys allow 15% moisture content in your COA, which is way higher than any other state and is much higher than you should be putting cannabis into a package. So if it was up in that 13, 14, 15% range and you're passing COA and it's getting packaged, there is potential for it getting moldy down the line. And I believe, I don't know this for sure, but I think those samples were in the hands of the Cowboy Cup for a few weeks. So you package
Correct,
it
2
up,
weeks.
and this is something that the reason why Emerald Cup is later in the year, because in the beginning, Emerald Cup was earlier in the year, just like Cowboy Cup. So farmers did not have enough time to properly harvest, dry, and cure their product. And they had massive issues with having to disqualify people for contaminated samples. Same fucking thing. And other competitions have had this same problem. And so I personally think that Cowboy Cup, because you guys had to harvest and then basically you had like 2 weeks or something, 2 or 3 weeks before you had to get your entries in, your shit wasn't dry enough. You packaged it, you sent it off, it went to the cup, it got moldy. These people who have no fucking stake in the game, because I don't know if people know this or not, but the Ganjier are a vast group of people that, like, some of them are lawyers and some of them are like just people who have kids and love cannabis. And like, I mean, I've met all kinds of different people from all walks of life. And unfortunately, the thing that sucks, the people who this sucks for the most is the farmers, because this happened. And then Daniel went on stage and announced that there was a problem and blah, blah, blah. And beforehand, when all this was happening, they were trying to figure out who would go up and talk to the growers about what happened, right? Because it had been left until the last day. And someone got volunteered to go up there. And Wendy felt like, dude, that's not going to be fair. Like, not cool. I'll go up there and talk to them. And to be fair, the message was not received well. It came off badly. And Wendy felt like, she felt like she did her best. And I know at the end of the message, she said, if you guys have any questions, we're in the back. So come back and talk to us. We can go over what we saw and blah, blah, blah. And she was back there for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And none of those farmers came back to talk to the judges about their samples. If that was my fucking farm and I turned in weed, and I'm not, again, this is not to say anything. I'm just pointing out what I saw and what I know happened. I would have went back there and talked to them. And then for a day or two later, for someone who wasn't one of the farmers, who is a consultant on some of those farms, to then call out those farms. No one called out those farms other than themselves. So if people have been hurt, unfortunately, it's because this has been blasted across social media. And the people who, people can think whatever they want about Wendy, but the people who really know her that she really gives a fuck about small farms and small farmers and craft cannabis and doing this the right way. And she gives a fuck about leaving something behind for our kids. This is about way more than cannabis for her. And
let me interrupt.
Can
I interrupt you for just, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, for people to accuse her of going up there to try to make money off of people, I think it's not fair, and I think it's kind of gross. And I know there's been some other announcements and things made with Gangier and all that. The council members don't own Gangier, just so everyone's super clear. They don't own Gangier. They have no real power. Gangier is owned by Greenflower Media, which is a media company. And, you know, it is what it is. So she, you know, it's a job essentially.
So you understand that when they go up there and they announce it the way that they do,
Yep.
you know,
Like I
like
said,
there was like
super
over,
fucked up. But
there
you
was
can't
over,
put that. But you can't. If I was a grower, I would put that on the person who so this just to be
right.
clear,
I
this is
agree.
exactly,
I agree with you.
this is exactly what I was warned against doing, because coming on to then to point fingers at people and try to put blame on people, it feels really petty and it looks petty. So like, and I'm not saying you're petty. I'm saying I look petty as soon as I start saying like, well, this person should have this and this person should have that.
No.
But if I was a
Hear me out.
grower, no. I'm like I said, I'm not. To be clear, I'm not blaming you for anything. This is the reason why people have said you shouldn't come on and talk about this, because mistakes were made. I don't know Daniel, and I'm not Daniel. I don't know why he made those decisions. I would have never done that. I would have, the second I found out, like I said, called the growers in and said, guys, go get me some different samples. I don't give a fuck about the COAs, but I know you guys gave me clean samples. So let's figure this out so we can make this happen. Or at least brought them in and all had a discussion. To wait until the day of, I don't understand what the thinking was behind that. And I don't agree with it. And it certainly wasn't fair to the farmers. And it may explain why they didn't go back and talk to the Gangier or to the judges, and really to Wendy, who again had nothing to do with the judging, who was just there and volunteered to give this message to them as someone who's had to throw away a fuck ton of moldy weed. We had to throw away a whole dry room this year because the power went out to it. So we had to throw out over 100 pounds of beautiful GMO. Like, we know what it's like to farm and have to throw away stuff and you know, and deal with things. It really sucks that the message was taken the way it was, and it really fucking sucks that it was handled the way it was by the people who organize the cup. But I don't understand how people take that and are then attacking the actual judges who only assessed what was in front of them. I think if I gave you moldy cannabis, and it's like, this is something where some of these people were in fucking tears because they couldn't judge the cannabis in front of them, and they knew that it was going to destroy those growers. And there wasn't just one sample they looked at. They looked at 7 samples for each thing, for each group, whatever. And then I think he went back and got more or something like that because he had more in storage, and they went through those. And so that tells me that something happened. I don't think every grower put moldy weed in their fucking bag.
Okay, so what I was trying to respond to was,
Sorry.
you know, hurting people or whatever. So what I was saying is, it's pretty easy to understand that if there's over 5,000 people at this event this year, and you go up on stage overall, I think that's what Daniel said.
Well, I was there. I don't believe there was 5,000 people there, but you know, maybe I'm wrong.
Anywho, it doesn't matter. You have like 3 podcast shows out there, and when you do when what happens in front of these people, of course it's going to get out there, right? But hang on. Wait. Like, hear me out. Right? So that's what happened right in front of all these people. So it all got out there, right? The people. Oh, I'm sorry, not the people.
I mean, it wasn't 5,000
entries
people when the announcement was made. It was a couple hundred people, just so we're clear. It wasn't
right.
There's 5,000 people didn't fit in there. So it was a couple hundred people, and like I think the grow off dudes weren't even there anymore. The thing is, like, again, the only
I still haven't finished what I was saying yet.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's all right. So what happened, the recoil from that, regardless whether there was, you know, podcast shows there or not, dispensaries were calling growers, not just the growers that entered the cup, right? Right. So they're calling growers and say, hey, did you have product entered at the Cowboy Cup? Some of these, obviously, some of them that they called said, yeah, we did. Well, now they want them to come back and get their product that they purchased from that farm and want their money back. All this is.
I just have a question in relation to that. If you were a commercial producer of cannabis and someone pointed out to you like, hey, this packaged weed that you gave me is moldy, and then the retail called you and said, hey, do you have this? My response would be, yeah, let's go look through it. Let's find out. Because no, I don't understand. Like, I get what you're saying, and I get that the position is like this hurt people's business relationships. But I also know that one of the growers reached out to one of the ganjier who's a farmer and said that they voluntarily recalled all their stuff to go through it. If you have a group of people who are, up to this point, no matter what anyone.
Well, they had to save their ass. They're about to lose their business because nobody's wanting to do business with them. Well, give me it all back. We'll get it all tested again. I'll give it back to you. I would do that too.
Why wouldn't you do it to make sure? So here's my thing. My position is that obviously there's a problem, right? And so if you put product in packages and it went somewhere and it developed mold, because we're all agreeing, right? The farmers didn't put moldy weed in their packages, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So then can we agree that a group of impartial judges from all around the country who have no connection with each other other than taking this class, just like you are, or were, or whatever, you're going through the online modules, can we agree that they have no stake? Otherwise, I'm missing something here. Because like we have, and in order to kind of like suss out some of this stuff, we're going to have to agree on some of the basics.
So I can answer where you're going with this. Yes, I can answer where you're going with this. So let me go ahead and finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish real quick.
Well, I guess because my point is like if I packaged up a bunch of weed and some of it went to the dispensary and some of it went to this place, and then all these people who, have some respect and clout in the industry, Derek Gilman and Wendy Kornberg and whatever you think about Patrick King, like I know a bunch of people are attacking him, whatever. Like, the thing is like, I guess I don't understand why you wouldn't go, fuck, I need to make sure the rest of my packages don't have moldy weed. Why wouldn't you contact your like if the retailer reached out to me and be like, yeah, dude, it is. I was just about to call you because we need to make sure, like we need to figure out what happened. Like, because it'd be just really easy for the grower to say, yeah, Cowboy Cup fucked up my shit. Can you believe that?
Right. But you know what though? You're saying all the right things. I agree with you.
I'm telling you, as
but
someone
you're saying all the right things
who comes from outside of cannabis, who has a passion for growing plants, and who is there. So, like I said when we started, it's like you say all the right things, but I'm telling you what I would have done as a grower, as a businessman. If I hand someone a product and it fucking breaks, like I'm culpable for it. So I got to make sure all my shit's on point. So if you're growing lettuce and someone finds contaminated lettuce and it's your brand of lettuce, it has E. coli on it, they recall everything. Mm-hmm. And so I just like, how can you, like, I get what you're saying, but I also like, there's a clear path to dealing with when a retailer reaches out to you and says, hey, we think, by the way, none of those farms, like Cowboy Cup, I don't think had like listed all their entries. Like,
what I'm saying is if what everything that you're saying right now, which is true, was applied to before it was announced, all these growers and all these dispensaries wouldn't have this problem at all. Because I agree with you. We all agree that the samples that were handed in had no mold, right? It's pretty clear that from the time it left the grower's hands to the time it got to the judging, which it did have mold on it. It's not super clear, but when you have seen mold before, you know what mold looks like, right? So instead of being like, hey, let's make an announcement, we fucked up and molded your weed, get us, uh, uh,
Well,
all this
that's
kind of who did it, how it happened, all that shit should have been done prior to, right?
that's
I'm
assuming though.
saying that if that was done right, which it doesn't, if it was any business, you're a businessman, right? If you own a bank and money comes up missing, you don't go and fire the teller without doing a internal search of the video cameras and this and that, right? To find out who is taking the money, right? You don't
Mhm.
put a memo out saying, "Hey, we know somebody's taking money. Uh, we need to fire
Well, you
somebody,"
do an
right? No, you figure it
investigation.
out. So,
You do an
right, that's
investigation.
exactly what it
So
is.
so
So,
why?
when I heard about this, it took me 2 minutes to be like, and I tell you what, when I've been off of Instagram and out of the loop for a while, I got a call from a student that has been out there. You know him. Uh, Anyways, he said, "Did you hear what happened?" Anyways, he proceeded to tell me 2 minutes into it. I was like, "Well, no shit. Like Daniel contaminated it. It took me 2 minutes to figure that out.
Well,
Why?
so
If
I
it took
can't
me
say
two
that because
minutes, how
I'm
come a
someone.
group of ganjiers or students or whatever couldn't be like, hey, we need to figure this out before we make an announcement?"
I really like to operate off of facts, and so there are things that aren't known for sure. So there isn't could have gotten contaminated by
Well,
the
wait a minute.
handling.
Wait a minute. We know when the growers handed it in, we know for sure it did not have powdery mildew or
Sure.
mold.
But I did so. I
So from
guess.
that point,
Hmm. But I also I understand what you're saying, but for anyone to make the conclusion that it for sure happened because of the handling afterwards is discounting other facts or factors, potential factors. And I think that making a definitive statement either way is presumptuous and might be not wise because moving forward in anything that you do, and certainly if you are investigating something, if you're investigating a crime, it should be beyond a benefit of a doubt. So could it have been contaminated by the Cowboy Cup? Sure, especially if you're saying that he owns the place that packaged it, it could have been contaminated there. Fine. I also believe, like I said, that because the regulations in Oklahoma are too high for moisture content, and you talk to anybody who's done this for a while, they'll tell you the same thing. 15% is too high. And we talked about before, I think you guys harvest too soon. Cowboy Cup does not allow you enough time. Those are factors too. And for when all this happened, the farmers should have come together and came and talked to the judges. And I can't blame them for not. I would have been shell shocked and probably pissed off and maybe not have done so. Or I would have walked up there and been like, I want to see my shit. Prove to me that my stuff was moldy because I sent you stuff that wasn't moldy. So I don't know how I would have handled it. That's one of two ways you could have done it. It
so
seems, yeah.
so Daniel held the samples in his office at his place of business.
I know
That's
that
where the samples were
I know
stored.
he held the samples that he came and the extra samples that he brought in after the weed was discovered to be moldy, and whatever samples the Ganjier got. But all the other samples, I believe, were mailed out to all the judges or whatever, and the judges had them before. And some of those judges also,
No,
I don't know. So this is
they
again
had to
like some
pick
of the
them up
stuff that I
at
know,
the
but
lettuce bar.
regardless,
They had to pick
some of
them
the
up at the
judges.
lettuce bar. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I don't know all the facts. I know they got them before, so I don't know if it was mailed or they had to pick them up. Obviously, you can't mail that shit. So, if I speak out of turn on some of this stuff again, like I don't know some of the finer points. I know they got the samples before the Ganjier did because the Ganjier only judged the final however many samples. I also know that some of the judges who weren't selected as part of the Ganjier judges, but who were also Ganjier, reported of having some issues afterwards, and they smoked all the samples. And some judges who weren't Ganjier also threw away some of the samples. So like, it wasn't, and like, um,
So
like I
Daniel
don't
handed
understand
out
why there
moldy
isn't
weed.
it. So
That's
like,
another issue.
what?
I'm
What's
sorry.
another issue?
That was another issue that wasn't ever addressed. Is like I was saying earlier, how he's a ganjier. He took in the samples, then he gave
Mhm.
them to the judges, and then he held them in his office and gave them to the
Well, not
ganjier.
the right. Well, because the ganjier were from out of state. So if you can't mail the samples, then you have to wait to give them until they like. Here's the thing: if you're entering into a competition, you're
You know, the samples in
people
his
under the
office are not in an environment controlled
well,
area.
I don't know that.
I'm
I
getting
don't
to
know
the
that.
I do. He owns. This is another thing he owns is the tumbleweed dance hall. That's where the
Yep.
samples were stored. It's not humidity and temperature controlled. Like, I'm not blaming. It's not his fault, that part, because growers shouldn't be handing in product that's not ready for,
Well,
especially
again,
if
like
you're getting it judged.
I think that all competitions should require the growers to package all the product themselves. And then like I said, the grower should have to hold a sample for themselves as, a barometer for the rest as a comparison if something does happen. So there is a way to move forward for all competitions.
That's a great
where
idea.
they can do this in a way where it takes the culpability off of the competition. It puts it more on the grower, and it allows everyone to have more
If 2 out of 3 are
responsibility
good
to
or
each
2 out of 3 are bad.
right. And if I give you a bunch of samples and they end up all fucked up, but mine's fine because I know I stored it good and we open it up and it's fine, well then we know it was a storage and handling issue, right? Because
And that's actually a thing that happened out here with this event.
Well, as far as I know, that didn't happen because
I'm telling you, because there's a lawsuit. There's a couple of lawsuits that are happening because one entry that I know, one of the entries I know was holding their product because they knew that they knew that they were going to win the cup event, right? Out here, the prices are in the dirt, and the only way to really have your stuff really worth anything is to be known and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So he held on to his product, saying all his product in.
If that product wasn't packaged at the same time in the same facility, I don't know how much weight that's going to hold up in court, because it would be
that was done.
That
was done at the lettuce bar. So they take their sample from their storage place into those big fucking bags, right? And they transport it to the lettuce bar. Yeah. In their possession, they open the bag and create the samples. That's from that point there on, it's not the grower's fault.
I understand that, but what you're saying is if the grower has something for comparison, it would have to be from that same thing.
An unopened sample.
From the same packaging effort and date. And from my understanding, all those samples went to the Cowboy Cup. The growers weren't returned any samples, which is part of the problem here. Since the growers weren't returned any samples, there's no comparison. So I don't want to speak on whatever lawsuits are happening because it doesn't involve me and whatever. But I think they're going to be hard pressed to get anywhere because you don't have a true comparison. I think if you did it in that way, then and there was a difference, you would have a thing. But you also, like, when you enter into a cup, like, you take some inherent risk in your product might be moldy, or you might get disqualified for some other reason, or maybe you just don't win and you're upset about that. So there are inherent risks, just like there are inherent risks with you giving a competition your product and expecting them to store it properly. So again, I've never been inside Derek's office or Daniel's office. I don't know what, the actual storage was, but, generally, I mean, 60% humidity, 60 degrees is pretty easy to hit inside of a structure. So I don't know what it's like, but I doubt a lot of people have gone in there with a thermometer and a hygrometer and they know for sure. And so again, I don't like speaking on these things if I don't know for sure. Is it a possibility? Of course it is, but it's also a possibility that Oklahoma regulations allow you guys to package your shit that's too moist and then it's causing problems. And I know from people who live in Oklahoma that there has moldy weeds on the shelves out there. And so if you guys, if your
Can I get you to pause for 1 second?
I'd just like to finish this point. If your main goal is to get retention and have repeat customers, then it is also your main goal to make sure that the best product is on the shelves. And that means to make sure that the Oklahoma regulations work for you, that work for the farmers. And I think that you guys have a problem down there. And instead of coming together, like I said initially, and trying to fucking investigate and figure out what the problem is, there's been a lot of finger pointing and blame and yelling and blah, blah, blah. And I think really it is a vocal minority that has a financial stake in consulting down there, who has been kind of propelling this along the whole time. And they are the ones who actually outed these farms, which is unfortunate, because the farms could have handled this internally with retails. If that actually is something that took place, they could have handled that internally in the ways that I mentioned before. This is an industry. It's a business. There's a way to handle those things. And if they believe that their product wasn't moldy, they could have went to that retailer and said, let's open up the shit, because obviously you can just open up a package and you can tell. So I don't understand the not investigating and the finger pointing and the being mad at everybody, instead of everyone coming together and be like, okay, let's figure this the fuck out. Be mad at how it was handled by the Cowboy Cup if you want. And you guys should handle that, by figuring out a better way to do this moving forward. But I don't understand, like, there's been some serious hate online towards the Ganjier. Some of these people I know have like taken it really fucking personally and hard, because they didn't get into it for this. They got into it because they love cannabis, and they really want to do anything they can to help patients and help the movement forward and help this plant get, legalized federally. And there are a lot of these people who have gone back to their home states and are working, legislatively to help move these things forward. So I think you guys be mad as much as you want, but I think that you need to direct that anger properly and use it positively to actually make change in a way that you guys are guaranteeing that this isn't a problem that's endemic, and that you do need to try to figure out a way to move forward that doesn't feel like, I don't know, it just feels ugly to me.
No, I just like.
Okay.
I just have a quick
Hey, Pat, real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Soul King Patrick just messaged me and said he thinks he missed the show. Can you message him on Instagram? Either send him a link and let him know that we're.
I don't have any way to get a hold of him. I'll try real quick.
If you got, on Instagram.
I don't know if
If I try to do it, I'm gonna lose signal if I move. That's what I was trying to get in earlier, James. Sorry about that.
My question is.
Okay, hold on. I have a text. I'm going to read this to you guys. Okay. Because this is about what we're talking about. So I'll just read this to you. It says, the entries. I don't know if I'm supposed to read this first part.
Go ahead.
In response to Swami's chain of, in response to Swami, because I guess Swami had some chain of custody questions. So I'm just going to read it to you guys. In response to Swami's chain of custody questions in regards to the sun-grown and light assist category. So, because just so you know, the Ganjier was trying to figure out what the fuck happened too. Because again, these are people who are passionate and they care about the growers, and that was the whole point of saying, hey guys, come over and talk to us so we can try to help you figure out what happened. Because we didn't know it. No one knew it happened. It took 2 days before anyone was like, oh, well, maybe the moisture content is too high or whatever. Again, that's not discounting.
I told you it took me 2 minutes when I heard it.
Well, again, that is, you're making a definitive claim, and I'm saying that both things are a possibility. And I think that the wisest way forward is, unless there is definitive proof of something, that you have to be open to both possibilities and try to find a solution for both moving forward. And I think how I outlined moving forward with how you hold and transport samples for competitions is the way you do that. So I think it's important for anyone who's engaging, not just in this debate, but any fucking debate. Like you can't like when you make statements like that, it's discounting any other possibility, and then it stops you from potentially getting to what the actual truth is, because then your vision of the facts might be colored by your own prejudice instead of the actual facts. So I really try to focus on just what the fuck do we know? And so that's why I say, like, some of the shit I don't know. And both things
You
are
know,
possible.
and you know what though? I think these events are good in a sense, but you know, and I think you'll agree, all the best weed that's grown doesn't go into an event. You'll almost never see it.
Yep. Like I said, I know people in Oklahoma who are fucking killing it. None of them enter that competition because, you know,
They're known for their
he
good
drops his
product. They don't
mask,
need that
his shit's
event.
gone. He drops stuff, it's gone. So he
Yep.
doesn't have any extra product to enter into the cup. That's the way he looks at it. He's like, I sell out. I don't have to.
Right.
No,
So-
everybody doesn't need. Yeah, that's a different thing. I think these events are. But my question, really quick for you, James, is you're kind of connected with different. You know, you've been around a lot of the United States at some of these different kinds of events. Is there anybody like you brought up some ideas for having best practices, right? And it's tough to do when when nationally the whole industry is outlawed, right? But it'd be nice to see that there is some kind of standards put in place by somebody to help help these things, because a lot of it is, I would have, when I did an event, I could have fucked up everything. I wasn't real careful about storing it. Turns out I was lucky, but it would have been nice to have some kind of guidelines that are standardized, and hopefully something like that will come out of this. That's all I want to say. But I'm enjoying I'm enjoying the conversation, so I'm gonna let you continue. Go ahead.
I'll just, like I said, I'm not affiliated with Ganjier. Wendy is a council member, and I obviously I respect her enormously. And coming into all of this from outside and being someone who generally I'm pretty untrusting of people. I question everything. So that's why I'm very careful not to levy accusations, because I don't like when accusations are levied against me. And it's hard for me to trust people. And coming into this, like, I'm learning what the education actually is in the program and what they talk about in the in-person classes and stuff. Like, I really believe that the council members who created this and the people who are really passionate about the program, that was kind of their intention. It, is in cannabis, is to create a standard when it comes to like rating cannabis and all of this. I don't think they were never intending to be a part of competitions or anything. That was something that, I believe they kind of got pushed into, and I don't think it was necessarily the worst thing, because I think what they're doing is awesome. I think it's unfortunate that the first time they got involved in something that this happened. But I believe that the program's really amazing, and there's some opportunity there for some great advocacy moving forward.
Can we talk about the program for a minute? Because I tell you what, I agree with you. I was sold into. I already believe that there needs to be a standard across the board. I've been preaching it for a long time, and if we don't do it when it goes federally legal, they're going to do it, and we're all not going to be happy. But
every industry has it,
right? So that's what I was bought into, or what I took away from it. And in one of these podcasts, what the heck's his name? What is his name? Derek.
Gilman?
Yeah. He was saying that, or maybe it was in no, it was in the show. It was in that show. He was saying that this program was designed for bud tenders to, anyways, that it would be people like bud tenders and this and that. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not buying into being a bud tender. Just for example, I've been growing off and on pretty much my whole life since I was 16, 17 years old. So it's 30 some years now. But I teach, like I said, I teach people how to grow at home, whether it's organics or whatever method they prefer, right? But I was sold that this is a way to gain knowledge, develop a better palate, with some scientific and some long-term knowledge. And as you go through these courses, and I tell you what, it's very informational. You do learn a lot. If you've been growing for a long time, you know a lot of these things, but I was basically sold on after this. I'm going to have some kind of piece of paper because I, I, I don't charge for what I do. I do consulting as well, going to
Yeah.
farms, telling them what's wrong, spend a day or two and then tell them what it is. And I don't charge for any of it because it's normally veteran
Okay.
grows. Everything is kind of, trying to help out my fellow brothers, but I seen a bigger problem that everybody in Oklahoma and everywhere. There's a lot of, anyway, that's a whole big story anyway. But, oh shit, I forgot where I was going with that. The Gangier thing. So I thought, well, if I had a piece of paper, I could now go and when I talk, it's more credible. Honestly, I feel now since all this happened and what's been said and yada yada yada, that paper isn't worth anything. And let me go ahead and be completely honest here. When I went and started buying this house is when I contacted Gangier and said, "Hey, I need to either get a refund or something. I'm not able to complete, the payments and the course. I purchased my home. I'm not trying to create a sob story, but let them know I'm not going to be able to." I got a response saying, "What we can do is we can put you on pause until next year. We'll only charge you $500 and can use $1,500 towards whatever the hell else." I was like, okay, well, maybe in a month or so I'll be able to do that. I said, okay, let's just stick with that for a minute. And if it changes, I'll contact you. And he said, okay. Month goes by. It's like, okay, food's going skyrocketing. I now have a mortgage, yada yada yada. Right? Pity story. I contact Gangier. I'm not going to be able to complete the class. Whatever. And how do I obtain a refund? And I basically got told, I'm not even saying basically, I will send you the damn email. They pretty much said, if you're not going to come to the class, there's no refund. So they didn't say sorry about your luck, but I'm not getting anything. And that was June, July, August.
Yeah.
And I never said nothing, and then all this crap comes out. It does kind of, and I'm saying from my point of view, it's not that I'm holding anything towards anybody. I really think that there's an educational aspect to it. If you don't know anything about cannabis, gaining that kind of knowledge could be priceless to you, or could be worth $3,000. Whatever. There's a lot of knowledge there, and I think it's a good program just to have the knowledge. But with that said, did you get a response from Patrick? Your pause muted.
He's muted. I think he said he can't find him on Facebook. I'll just.
I found him on Facebook, and I sent. He's a friend of mine on Facebook, so I sent him. I sent him a link, so maybe he'll find it.
I'll tell you. First thing, like I feel you. Like it sucks. I don't know what their policies are. I'll tell you that I owe $900 to the college that I was last at from like 7 years ago, and I still need to pay that off. And so, like, I get it. Like, again, I don't know what their contract is. So, like, if you entered into a thing and that's what it is, like, it sucks.
Well, it's pretty shitty that they keep your money for services not received.
I don't, like I said, I don't know what the deal is or whatever. I'm not affiliated with them or whatever.
Oh
I
no, I'm
will
not
say
saying
that,
nothing like that.
for me, I think as you said, the program, the education that's there is really good. I mean, I fucking know a lot about growing, but the education is definitely way more than growing, and it definitely is more geared towards if you're a bud tender, it's a fucking amazing program to go to because there is a whole consumer interaction thing that you go through. And the analysis, the SAT program, like it's insane. It's like an hour long that they take to assess one little sample. So I have enormous respect for it as an outsider, just watching it and having been there a couple times. I've never even sat through like a full 2 days of classes. So, again, I haven't gone through the program. I don't, I just know what's coming out of it is impressive. And that the people who are getting certified right now because the program is so rigorous, like, they know their shit. For you, I would probably try to reach out to them again and, see what you can do. Like I said, I don't know if you sign a contract when you join up or whatever, but, yeah, that sucks. I will say that I love what you're doing on the front with the veterans. And actually, Wendy and I have been working on putting together a nonprofit for the OC. And we were just talking today about potentially putting together an association as well. And a big part of that is offering free education to impoverished communities and stuff. So anybody who's doing that kind of stuff, like I'm a big fan of and a supporter of. I really can't speak to the Ganjier stuff much beyond knowing that what's coming out of there is great. I don't know what their fiscal things are. Also, that's not Ganjier, that's Green Flower Media who owns them. Is the financial, like they actually own the company. And so again, like I said before, the council itself, the people who came up with the curriculum, they don't really decide any of that shit. They don't get any money from the Ganjier. Like Green Flower owns them. If Green Flower wanted to sell Ganjier, they could sell Ganjier, and the council is not going to have any say on it at all. So the council has done an amazing job putting together the curriculum, and I know that they come together and they discuss the curriculum, and they adjust it as needed to make sure that it is the best it can be, so that there is a standard out there. I guess my whole position is I understand growers being upset. I would be upset. I'd be upset if someone outed me online. If I had entered cannabis into a competition and it turned out that it was disqualified for any reason, and I would have reached out to the people who made the discovery or the announcement, who said they were there to talk to them. Maybe none of the farmers were there, but it feels like they were. Obviously, some people were upset and took what Wendy said, badly. So, yeah, I mean, I get why people are upset, but I think that the misdirected anger at a group of people who were and asked to come out there and were like stoked to come out there and judge cannabis, like they were all ready to smoke a bunch of good Oklahoma weed, and when all the samples were contaminated, like I said, some of them were crying because they were upset about it. Whether people want to believe that or not, like I know some of these people, like it, there's some girls who are really passionate and some guys who are really passionate, and to have to break the news to somebody like, hey, all your samples, like all 10 samples or whatever we assessed, were disqualified, like that sucked for them. I wouldn't want to have to announce that or tell people. Like that would suck. If I was running a competition, I would have told them right away. But at this point, we're how far down after it's happened. So if people aren't coming together and coming up with solutions about how to move forward, which is what I think this whole conversation should have been about from the beginning. It's again what I was posting about on social media, which was, there are some people who have like really large platforms and they can go on and say whatever they want. And, I don't have a big giant Instagram following. I'm trying to do the work that I'm trying to do and bring growers together from all different camps and move an idea and a message forward. I have some like lofty plans and goals, and I don't think it's, for me, it's hard for me to know that there are people out there that are saying things that, first of all, aren't true. And kind of like, again, like I said before, ugly. What is the point in that? How are we advancing this issue? There was a problem. No one actually came together to find out what the problem was. It was people going like, and I'm not throwing you under the bus at all, but like when I knew in 2 minutes, it was the way Daniel stored it. All right. That could be a factor. That could be one of the things. It could totally be, that could be the only thing, but there could also be other things. And for everyone to not come together to have a conversation, I know there was a point where Wendy was going to come on and talk to people, but because certain things were being said by those people before she had a chance to come on and actually address those things, she said, fuck it. Why would she? Like, what does she have to gain? Though the people who already have made up their minds about how things went down, they're not going to change their mind. So they already feel a certain way. Now, people who are impartial and willing to have a discussion, like we've been having this discussion for an hour and 20 minutes. You've been super reasonable. We've been like, this is the kind of shit I can get behind. I can have this talk all fucking night. We can debate all kinds of stuff. I love debating and talking about things with people.
Right.
Love it.
We're having good dialect.
Yeah. But I also want to make sure, like, if we're talking about something that, especially if it's a problem, first we identify, what are all the things we can agree on? And then we need to identify, okay, here are the variables, the things that we don't know for sure. And then how can, in the future, we figure out how to fucking move past that so next time it doesn't happen that way. That's what I'm interested in.
So I tell you what, I kind of, on this past year, I've kind of, I don't want to say turned away from cannabis, but I kind of turned away from the industry side of it and just kind of diverted back into the home grow side of it.
Good,
but right, I know, right? I got my own opinions on that too, but that's another show. But no, so here, I've watched about 10 hours of interviews and reading articles and this and that, and I completely agree
on this.
10
hours of interviews.
Yes, on Cowboy Cup. Yeah.
Really? There's 10 hours.
Yeah, you have
talking about this.
Oh yeah, there's the Adam Dunn show, Dudes Grow show, yep. Pigeons. There's like there's
what's
a
really
lot.
Funny to me is the one like I said, I haven't watched almost any of what's out there. I did catch about 10 minutes of an Instagram live with a couple of people, and I was commenting those organic cultivators because every time a point was brought up, and Patrick was on that interview, and I love Patrick. I think honestly, he's a deep down, he's a really fucking good guy. I love Patrick. The second I met him, I knew he was a good guy. He's rowdy. He's easily excitable. Like you get him on and somebody's poking him, he's going to poke back. And like, it's not necessarily the best way to move forward. And so I was commenting the whole time. And like the two people that were on there that were talking the most, like they weren't even there when the announcement was made. So again, you have people who are talking definitively about this shit. Like they knew, like they were there and they weren't. And I had a conversation with one of them, a long back and forth on Instagram. Like I said, he invited me on his Instagram live. And I was like, yeah, anytime. Let's do it right now. Oh, we'll do it tomorrow. I'm like, okay, well, we'll do it tomorrow. because I know you're going on Future Cannabis Project, and you invited Wendy. Like, I'll come on. And then Wendy decided to back out of that because she, it was smart of her to do so. Because why stand in the line of fire of someone who's already had all the time in the world to run his mouth? So like this has been, in my mind, like I haven't heard much about it. Occasionally someone will pop and go, oh, do you know someone's making clown memes of you, or like whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. Man, it must really, I feel kind of fucking bad that like if that's what your focus is the making like a whole Instagram account where all you do is trash talk a group of people because of something happened at a really small cannabis cup in the middle of Oklahoma. Man, I'm sorry. That sucks. You can't be
I'll tell
fucking
you
happy
what.
with your life.
Like I said, I kind of dipped out of the what's going on for a while, and I get a call, and this is what I hear. I'm like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, I looked into it, seen the same, couple lives that you seen. I was like, okay, I need to call Pat and see if we need to do a show on this, But and as I told him that, I'm getting text messages, people from Instagram messaging me. I'm like, you fuckholes, what are you doing? Anyways, but yeah, it's I spent so much time on this just because I felt that there was some importance to this, and there is, and like through all these the shit I got like 7-8 pages of notes.
I mean, from one person to another, like from someone who was there, and like I've listened to the conversations between like the Ganjier people talk about why wasn't this announced yet, and how are we gonna make sure, like,
But the
how
ultimate
we
problem,
handle this? What's that?
the ultimate problem, like you were talking about, it is the SOPs and those things. Those are what's important.
Yeah.
And it's clear through these interviews and stuff that I really hate doing this without him here. But in all honesty, he's kind of been dodging me for 4 years. I brought something to him with another cup about splitting up the state, and things
So
happen. And
if
I've had more encounters with him and trying to get a hold of him and do something with him. When I finally got to talk to him a year and a half ago, he says, "Oh, I'm careful about what I put my name on because I was trying to put a cup event together for the community, but instead of all this bullshit kind of stuff going around,
cups seem really hard, man.
Growers that
Seems like you might not want to tackle that shit.
the growers that are putting their entries in, they're the judges. Anyways, that's a whole long thing, but anyways, the bottom line with all these interviews, Daniel, the fault lies with Daniel, and Daniel has admitted this throughout a couple of shows, right?
I agree with you.
Hang on. So he's also said that this has been a continuing problem pretty much since year one, but they're trying to improve every year. He said that they don't wear tie-back suits, but they do handle it as minimal as possible with gloves and sterile tongues and this and that. Right. And that's good. You need those kind of SOPs, and you need, but you do need to be, if you're going to be having a cup event, I mean, anybody that's done these events, you need to be careful with people's product. That's SOP number one, right?
So if this has happened year after year, and last year,
and it's getting worse.
Last year, the growers, to my understanding, sent their samples in, right? And they failed. So like,
here's a little history on that. Wait a minute. That place is called. That place.
All I'm saying is, like, if it's something that's happened over and over again, like, again, where so. You're saying you're not like really clued into social media or whatever. So just so you're aware, a lot of this hatred has been directed towards the Ganjier judges. Never mind the Ganjier program. And I know that there was a key relief announcement in the middle of all this, and we can get into that if you want, because I have, obviously I have an opinion about everything. So
I was hoping to have somebody else on that side be able to talk about that, kind of like me and Pat said. I don't really want to direct any.
People in here.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'll just tell you what I know about it. In the very first round of Ganjier, rep who worked at Curaleaf, who I don't think she works there anymore. She came through the program, and then she left and went back. And this is obviously, I know there's all kinds of problems with Curaleaf, so I don't send me a bunch of messages like they're evil and they hate home grows. Like I know what they do. Yeah. Anyway, she went back to Curaleaf, and she was basically like, I don't know, I think maybe it was a Philadelphia store or something. She said, all the weed in here is shit. All the weed in here is shit, and we need to be supporting small, because part of the Ganjier message is supporting small craft farmers and organic and regenerative. Like they kind of like push that a lot, which is kind of cool, which is something that I can get behind because that's my whole fucking deal. So she went back there and pushed this. And then to my understanding, Curaleaf started a whole new line supporting small craft farmers in that area. Now, if someone went to a program, came back and changed the potential business strategy and outlook of a fucking giant in the industry who has a lot of fucking money, so much money that they fucked up a lot and they can pay for it and they can just keep going. So they got tons of money. They're like big tobacco, right? They can do whatever the fuck they want pretty much. So if she came in and then brought this back to them, they saw value in that. That's not a negative thing. Now, Curaleaf made this announcement, which didn't, Ganjier, they didn't have anything to do with when Curaleaf announced that they were doing this, but Curaleaf's paying Ganjier to send a bunch of their staff through. So this is, in my estimation, if you are creating a program that is creating a standard in the industry, the way that the sommelier program does for wine or whatever the chocolatiers are called. Like there's like cigars have it, chocolate has it, cheese has it. Like there's all these right. If you're doing that, then the natural progression is that big companies who find value, because there's value in making sure that you have the top rated cannabis. If you are a big company and you need to sell to customers, you're probably going to send your people through. So in my mind, it's the natural progression of it. This is the next evolution in the Ganjier program. And even though they can only take so many students in a year, like, of course, dispensaries are going to be interested in this because it's a program that is tailored towards bud tenders. So regardless of what you think of Curaleaf or whatever, like, bad timing, I guess. But people make these, what is it? 7 degrees of separation connections with some of this stuff. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I know some people have asserted that somehow Wendy's like making bank off of the Oklahoma Cowboy Cup. I'm like, how the fuck does that even happen? Like, my truck's in the driveway with a hole in the radiator, and our van's like leaks exhaust to the side of it. Like, we struggle to make ends meet. Again, she's like an employee. So, an independent contractor, if you want to be exact.
So you're not quick, real quick. Bars, huh?
Fuck no. Are you kidding me? Why do you think my internet's like that?
Derek said that they partnered. See, I think I don't want to nitpick my word.
If you I would imagine they have some kind of contract and a deal where it's like you're sending, because I think it's an agreement to send 50 people through. So like, you're not going to do something without an agreement with a company like that. So, pick apart the language, but I wouldn't enter into whatever amount of money that is, because if 3,000 times 50, I'm sure it's a reduced rate since they have a deal, but that's a lot of money. So I would imagine you're going to have a contract in the same way that I guess they have a contract with you, which is why you're having a difficult time getting that money refunded or whatever. I would hope
But I'm not a partner.
What I would say is, like, I would hope if it were my company and it were my decision, if you paid the $3,000 for the full ride and you did all the online modules and chose not to come out for the class, well, then it should be prorated to just doing the online modules and having never paid for the class. So I'm not sure
I didn't
why
even,
there's
I didn't even complete it. Yeah, I think I got
well,
like 50%.
either way, like once you get access to
Doesn't
the
matter.
online modules, like, you know, and I think there is a difference between, like I said, I'm not in the program, so I don't know what the difference is, but I know there's like different tiers. So I think there's probably one where you can just do the modules and not come out and take the class. And there's a difference in pricing there. So my what I would do if I were you is I would look up those differences and email them back and be like, look, there's no reason why you can't refund me this difference. I'm not asking for all of it back, but like the difference in cost. Like obviously I had access to the modules and there's an education value there and I got something from it. And I think you have lifetime access to them. So fuck, the terpene stuff alone is insane. But so, you know, that again, I don't know what specifically your communications were back and forth. And I don't think it's fair for me to really comment a whole lot or get involved because it's not my company, it's not my business. But
I've honestly just let it go for a minute because I'd rather not put the stress on myself about not getting it back. But I wanted to maybe either talk to, I know Patrick's not an owner, but he knows a guy, maybe, you know, kind of thing, or you know, whatever, see if they can't figure out something. But yeah,
I mean, I don't know what there is
it
to.
doesn't look good though when it does come out, regardless of the timing of it.
Dude, I was in
getting their hand in
Aptos getting ready to speak, and I saw the thing on my phone, and I showed Wendy, and I was like, "Fucking perfect timing! Like they could have announced that at a better time." So, like, I get it. The optics were fucking horrible, and because I was having my personal text messages posted online, I was well aware of what was happening. So when it happened, I was like, "Fucking Christ, dude!" So I get it, but again, like if that was my company and I was running, like, so this is one of the things with the organic cultivators group is that we don't discriminate against anybody. So like I don't give a fuck if you're a giant farm that's been spraying chemicals on your land forever. If you want to learn how to move away from that, you should be invited into the fold. Because you're not going to know how to do it. And I don't want you to get fucking discouraged when you're forced to switch to organic amendments because you can't afford fucking nitrates from Russia anymore because they don't exist. Like
dumping piles of lime on your
fields, they're going to fail. Like this is going to happen. There are farms there that have to move to different practices, and it is going to require people who know what they're doing in the regenerative, sustainable, organic, you know, permaculture, all these fucking camps to come together and welcome these people and teach them. Because, you know, if we keep going the fucking way we are, like we're not going to have fucking topsoil. My kids aren't going to have shit. Because as much as the regenerative movement is gaining steam, and for the people who are like in it, it feels like, oh man, everybody's doing this. And the Facebook groups, like some of them have like 300,000 people in them and stuff, but it's not that large, and it's not all of agriculture. And so just like my belief with that, like I think that if you're trying to shape the industry into what you want it to be, well, then that means you're going to have to play with the big guys who have the money, who are already there and who aren't going anywhere. And if they want to, they can just flick you off like a bug. And the only reason some of these farms have survived is because they were in a unique position to ride it out for a multitude of reasons. And now, like here in California, the market is steadily changing to where some of these craft farms are really starting to get support. And so the same thing is going to happen with the Ganja program, whose goal is, to my understanding, to shape the industry into something that is respectable. If we want cannabis to be respected by all the fucking people out there and for it to be federally legalized and in a way that works for us, then it has to be fucking professional. It has to be scientific.
It's got to be brought to them. This is the way it is. It works good. Everybody gets, you know, their chunk of the pie.
It has to be like any other industry. And so like until people are okay with that, like you're going to run into people who have problems and have conspiracy theories. And like we've gotten hate in our community for having the stance of willing to work with a bigger company because they wanted to learn how to be better. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just tell them to fuck off and don't be better? Keep fucking poisoning the earth? Like, that seems wrong and silly. So I'm gonna, I'll keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm sure Ganjay will keep doing what they're doing. And what'll happen is, if the people who are running these things, like what we have a vision for what we're doing, if the people who are running it can have that vision and see it through, and they're true to that, and they really believe it, like, there's always going to be naysayers, and there's always going to be people who have thoughts from the outside. And as long as you keep doing what you're doing, like, it will happen, and hopefully it will happen in a way that the industry is changed in a way that works for all of us, because right now it doesn't. Retailers and buyers.
And money's going to, it's money comes in.
Oh, hey, just, yeah, totally. You're in Oklahoma, right? Vets Grow? Yeah. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with Ganjay. I can't do anything about that, but let's talk afterwards, because I might be able to hook you up with like a natural farming class out there for free with somebody that we know, or something like that. Like, I'd like to try to, like, if they can't help you out, like, I'd at least like to try to hook you up, especially since you're helping out the vets and stuff. But yeah,
It's cool you say that.
He's like, hey, we can't do anything about Ganjay, but if you feel appropriate, please offer a scholarship to a KNF class. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, we can make something happen for sure.
I've listened to you on, I think, a couple other shows talking about KNF, and Chris Trump on here as well. And I'm actually getting ready to do something. I have 2 acres here in Southwest Oklahoma, and it's almost like Texas. Just, we don't have, I have sand, but I have crabgrass, and we have tumbleweed. And I'm getting to do some regenerative soil things out here, putting in the green bicycle products, but using my neighbor's 60 head of cattle to come and push hay down into the ground to seed the ground. They just did a 7-year rest on their property over there to get, a lot of the older seeds, breaking through the ground, dying off, depositing carbon and all this and that. And I'm getting ready to do this project, a 2-year project on my 2-acre property here. And
there's
right now,
there's a couple of guys.
Joel, what's his name? Joel Salatin.
Joel
He's got
Salatin.
a lot of,
There's
yeah,
a couple of guys out in Oklahoma that are really good natural farmers. One of them, his name's Jace Rivera. He was actually gonna speak at our conference in Oklahoma, and he gave us some weed in Oklahoma, and dude, oh my god, it's like I have a nug of it that's saved, because Wendy, he wants her to do the sap app on it. I'm like, you gotta fucking sap app this thing so I can smoke the rest of it, because it's super tasty. So if you want, we probably put you in connection with him. There's a really cool natural farming soil building technique where you do successive plantings of corn. You let it grow a few feet high, and then you basically chop and drop and mulch and apply IMO, and then replant corn and do it again. It can build inches of topsoil.
I've got goats and stuff that I'm going to be having out here, so
Beautiful.
I'm going to kind of be doing the same thing, but I'm planting something. It's called AU grazer. It's got buckwheat, vetch, clover, alfalfa, a whole lot of stuff,
Yep.
And then I do rotational grazing on it, but twice a year I bring in, like I said, the neighbor's cattle, and I take a round bale and roll it out there. They come in and eat it, right? Well, they eat it right after I seed it, and they push all the seed into the ground, so I don't have to use a tractor or none of that BS. So, yeah, I need as much help as I can, or as much knowledge as I can for this project.
Dude, you're already off to a great start doing, cover cropping and rotational grazing with your animals. Like that brings in all different kinds of microbes, and it really does help condition the soil and improve your organic matter. Like I said, there's some really good natural farming practitioners out there. One of Chris Trump's soil smiths, Zach McCain, is out there. He runs Synergy Hash Co. He's the guy I was telling you about, who has, he crazy good hash, and he sells out immediately. Super good guy. He's the best man at my wedding, actually. he's out there too. So yeah, there's definitely people that are out there that can help you. And the coolest thing about the natural farming community is if, you know, the sharing of information, it should be back and forth and freely given. And that is one of the best things about the natural farming community. Unfortunately, with some of the inputs, you really have to like smell and taste them to know like what it's supposed to smell and taste like. So even though like a lot of this stuff is out there and available, I definitely recommend getting to an in-person class or having someone who is reputable and really knows natural farming. And by reputable, I mean reach out to Chris Trump, reach out to one of his soil stewards and find out like, hey, who's in my area? Like Jace Rivera, he does classes. And he grows cannabis and he teaches natural farming. So you could reach out to him and find out when he's doing a class in Oklahoma, because actually smelling the inputs and tasting them is huge.
Absolutely.
Hey, we had someone show up in the green room. James, I don't know if you ever met the Aussie grower. Really interesting guy.
I don't know,
but I'm going to bring him up on the show real quick. How you doing? How you doing, old man?
G'day, fellas. How's it going? I thought I'd join you for a sesh. Say g'day. Haven't seen you in a while. Green Bicycles. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
How
Did
you going, mate?
Did you watch our show tonight?
No, sorry. I've been really busy. I've got a big task on hand I've doing for quite a few, probably a couple of months.
Okay. We had a little thing tonight. James is with the gun, or no, he's not with.
the whole time, Patrick, I've been saying I'm not.
No, yeah.
He's married with
he's representing our. I got to be.
I'm representing myself.
Yeah, there was one of the
screen,
cannabis
Patrick.
competitions in Oklahoma. I'm faded.
Jeez, Pat.
Yeah. This was
Those edibles have kicked in.
We've been running the show tonight.
Yes. Anyways, a lot of the outdoor cannabis got disqualified for mold, and it was kind of politically it was announced at the wrong time, and it was kind of a big kerfuffle. And James was out at the show, and there was a lot of kind of hard feelings, and it's a chance to talk about like standard procedures for storing it or handling it, because from the time the growers turned it in until it got there, mold happened. And anyways, we're trying to figure out some best practices out there.
So I have a cup SOP. It's written out if you want to hear it. This is what we think is an irreproachable cup SOP. Wendy handed it to me while we were talking. We just never got around to it. So if you want to hear it, I have it.
Sure, let's hear it.
All right. So one contestant, she said, it's kind of stupid, complicated, but it's irreproachable. One contestant pays fees to enter contest and is sent a personal link to design a personal tamper-evident tape. Instructions to contestant include do not share, post, or show your personal tape to anyone. Tape must not include logos or anything that would indicate cultivar, grower, or brand. It's a fucking good idea. 2, contestant organizer sends jars jars/containers to contestants. 3, contestants fill jars. 4, contestant seals jars with personal tape. 5, contestant drops samples at drop spot for testing. 6, once COAs are passed, judges pick up judging kit. Additional samples are sent back to contestant for safekeeping. Contest organizer, and the reason why it has to be sent back is because all your shit has to go to COA and then be sent back. Contest organizer keeps 6 additional samples in locked and secure temp and humidity controlled environment for later QA/QC. Contest organizer should probably also keep a few examples in a non-temp controlled area just as an extra layer of QA/QC. So, like we were talking about before, everyone should have extra samples. The grower should have a sample of their shit, and then you can compare.
No, there needs to be, because in the end, there are livelihoods could get effective. It's not just hurt feelings. Like who knows? So I think it's important. What makes it kind of difficult? It's not standard in the United States. But go ahead. Sorry.
When are putting in samples that are above probably 10% active water level, there's a high chance that it's going to develop some sort of spore germination. So the grower should be maybe looking at that, doing a test and staking it, seeing what sort of activity water level the bud has, and then they're going to know. If you're putting in something that's 13% above, good luck. Its course is going to get mold on it in an isolated situation. I think
Yeah,
it's post-harvest operations from the actual growers. Over.
Yeah, and the thing is Oklahoma allows 15%, so like it's too high.
Yeah, but well, if I'm going to a competition, I'll be giving you some bud that's 8 because I'll know that you'll probably open it, smell it, carry on, all that sort of stuff. So, and also I got fungal resistant genetics, so there's a few ways you can eliminate that.
Yeah, we actually there's a competition here in California called the Grow Off, and it's just on testing. So they do cannabinoids and terpenes. So highest cannabinoids and terpenes wins, and they place it out like that. And last year we came in second place, and our moisture content was higher than everybody else. So like if we just dried our weed down some more, like it would have been first. So yeah, you should dry your weed more. That's the lesson, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like I said, Patrick, it fucking sucks, dude. It sucks for the growers, and again, I kind of feel like the people who were the vocal people online really are the ones who outed the growers, and not Ganjay, not Cowboy Cup. Like they didn't even come out and say anything for like 5 days or something. So. Again, like if this happened to me, I would have been trying to figure out why and going to the organizers and the judges and trying to figure out what the fuck happened. And, knowing that what I thought I put in my package was good. And again, understanding that we all agree that when the cannabis went into packaging, the growers aren't stupid. They didn't put moldy weed in the packaging. Then, knowing what the regulations are, I suspect that that's probably the case,
If you're what about if you're holding a contest in a mold like around the equator, maybe send the specimens to a lab specifically, so then they'll get tested, and then back to the actual place who's holding the contest. So then you're eliminating that chance of any fungal spores germinating. I'm a cannabis scientist anyway. Sorry, by the way, I'm not a bro science person. I study at university. Over.
Well, last year, that's what they did. They had COAs, and then the samples went to secondary testing, and then I believe that's where they failed. This year, the growers were allowed to hand in their own COA with a sample. So either way, both years there were problems. I don't know.
There's so many genetics getting around that hasn't installed. Everybody's all about terpenes and cannabinoids. Yeah. How about the actual plant health? How about the resistances that are built into it? How about the drought and the stress resistance and the high heat and the fungal resistance that the breeders have installed? Like I have. There's no mention about that, mate. So that should be a constituent within the judging the judging criteria.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. I probably yesterday, I think I was saying the same shit. Like, I don't, and actually it was, because we were talking about hash cultivars, and one of the guys was like, yeah, some of these, like, you just have to run them inside and baby them because they dump so much. And I'm like, yeah, I'm way more interested in like trying to breed that fucking weakness out of them. Like, we've been selecting for these things, which are great traits, like, because, I love smoking cannabis that's super tasty and smells and has a nice room note. So the other people who are smelling my smoke, like, it's pleasant to them because there is an aspect of that. But yeah, it's no one's been breeding for hardiness really. So that we have ended up in a situation where we're like, it's not great. The gene pool is not the best out there right now. So it's a lot like growing the same apple across the United States. Like, you're breeding trouble if you only grow one kind of apple.
Well, that should be thrown into the judging criteria, because if I was to enter your comps, like I put out videos on my fungal resistant genetics as an example. So you grow them in 95% humidity and see what happens. And then, I put a few videos out like that and how to do it. So that should be into it. And if you're going for the best breeder and stuff like that, shouldn't that be a criteria element?
Yeah, if there's a breeder element, yeah, I think hardiness should probably be a category that's considered for sure. Especially, like we grow outdoors, so a plant that's weak and botrytis prone. I'm not really interested in continuing to grow that. Even before I was growing outdoor and here in California, like even when I just had a small indoor. If I had plants that had like PM on them, I fucking threw them away. I'm like, I'm not growing that. I'll find something else. Like to me, it's not worth the time. Like I'm much more interested in growing a nice, beautiful, healthy plant. So like if there's one plant out of all those plants that's doing bad, like it's probably a weak plant because I know everything else is on point. So
Well, you
yeah,
can
I agree
improve
with you.
the genetics as
That's
well.
also why I would never run a competition.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, I've had my sesh.
Hey, real quick, Ozzy, real quick. Check this
Yeah,
out.
we-
I think we have I have an idea, and Cowboy Cup is either going to have to. I got 4% on my battery. I'm gonna come in on my wife's phone in just a second, but
I'm going to
it's
go
it's
too.
clear that there's not enough time for drying before the outdoor is entered in any cup event. If you do it this early in December, there's not enough time. So either Cowboy Cup either needs to not have an outdoor sample or use the outdoor sample from last year, or something there has to change just to take out that
Well,
possibility
all
of having
the
that
indoors
product
fail
and
too.
have it being sent out.
There's some new technology now with drying and post-harvest operations of cannabis, and it's still to be used, but it's there to be used. And the drying, I've been playing around with it for a few years, and I can get it dry down to, I know it's hard to believe, but a few days now, and retaining all 100% of the terpenes. And that patent was put out in Germany, and they've got the technology now, and they use it in commercial crops. And there's another one, radio frequency drying is another way where it doesn't actually use heat. And there's also vacuum operated microwave drying, and that doesn't raise heat too, because if the heat gets above around 50 Celsius or 130 Fahrenheit, it's OC mean and CBG is volatile at that low temperature. So you want to retain as much goodness as you can. So they are a few techniques in trying to improve and speed things up. Over.
Very good. Does anybody have any specific questions? We've been going on about 2 hours, and I appreciate James's time. Where all time is valuable.
Yeah, I feel like we covered the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. I would love to if we continue this at some time if we want. James, you're always welcome to come on the show. Vets and Aussie come on quite frequently, and
I always get the notification the day after, so I forgot that you moved your thing to Saturday, and I'm still not on track with that. So
yeah, me either. But anyways,
are you still hiding from your students on here?
Yes, I just block them.
You just block them?
That's what I do. Anyways, well, let's wrap this up tonight. This is I don't know. I think hopefully it went in a good direction. I think some things came out. Vetsgrow, do you have any final things that you would like to say?
Any questions? Like anything we didn't cover?
Anybody have? Let's give a few more minutes. Anybody Anybody a question? I'll pop it on the screen. Bam. Go ahead, Bets. You got the floor.
You know what? We had a good conversation tonight. Good dialogue. I'd love to talk more about this because Pat had an event. I was trying to put on an event, and I think I want to do another one. SOPs are very important, and having a standard, graduating scale there's a necessity. So I think it's a good conversation that we had. It would have been great to have some other people and their angles about it, but maybe we can do another show another time. But I appreciate everything.
Dude, I love the
And-
conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and being super reasonable and having like a debate back and forth. I'll say that, like, other people coming on to talk about the Cowboy Cup, like I know most people probably just don't want to fucking talk about it because it's, I know that the sentiment is like, dude, the more you keep bringing this up, like the more you're just bringing focus on yourself and what happened. And if I was a farmer and this happened to me, I'd be like, guys, shut the fuck up. Like, let's just figure out what happened and move forward. Cause like, I don't want this to hurt my business. So like, again, I can't imagine what the excitement you would feel bringing, samples to a competition and like, you're going to fucking kill it. And like, we've entered into a competition and fucking lost and not even placed. And like, it was a letdown, so, like, I get it, but to be disqualified and then, like the way it was handled, like that's an extra, it's an extra punch in the dick for sure. So like, I get it. But I really hope that, moving forward, that things like this are handled in a way that is more conducive to an industry of professionals, because that's what we need to be if we're to be taken, seriously by the rest of the world who we're trying to get to fucking listen to us and do things the way we want them to do.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah, I think most of the people, actually, that's one thing I'm proud on. Most of the people who come on the show, I believe fully their heart's in the right spot to making a better world. And these are directions that we should all be taking. Aussie for sure. Actually, you two would have interesting conversations. Aussie and James, very interesting people, and they're all about. I don't know. We talked about Korean natural farming very much, but James is like pretty close with Chris Trump, I believe. He goes to their shows, but anyways.
Hey guys, sorry, real quick, my phone's about to die. James, get a hold of me. Ozzy, good to see you. Thank you everybody in chat for tuning in.
That was good seeing you, bud.
Yeah, I'm getting tired, but you guys should make a connection. A lot of good energy here. Come back on my show anytime.
Yeah, I'll pop back on for sure. And for anybody who doesn't know, like I'm gonna use this opportunity to shamelessly plug my conference, because I am putting on an event. It's not a competition, so you can't enter and then get disqualified and be all upset. It is a bunch of super, super smart people coming together to talk about regenerative agriculture. If you guys don't know Dr. James White, he's Rutgers, Rhizophagy Cycle. I think, he's been on Pat's show. So like, you guys know him. He's going to be there talking, and a bunch of other people. Suzanne Wainwright, Dan Kittredge, organiccultivators.net. You can check it out.
That's back in Massachusetts, correct?
That's in Massachusetts. Yep. Okay. It's on the East Coast.
When's the date?
February 17th, 18th, and 19th. And you can use OCCONF10 for 10% off. OCConf 10 for 10% off. So and this year we're doing like online streaming and stuff. So and I'm sure I'm gonna get shit talking because I'm trying to get people to come to my conference after whatever. I don't care.
That good on you.
We put it all. Well, I know you don't know. There's just been a lot of shit talking on the internet. But we put everything up on YouTube for free after the conference is done. So again, all the information will be there for anybody to watch in perpetuity.
Cool.
Patrick, I love you, buddy. Don't fall down when you get up out of your chair. And hopefully, I'll see you soon. It was good.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you coming up and talking with folks about it. And you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta go investigate a dishwasher. So
okay, I'm gonna end this broad. They don't need to hear all this stuff. Good
night,
night, everybody. Get a good night's sleep.